Hey guys, Aniso here, and today we want to talk about the patch update for Broodmother. First of all, I have to say I have not played a single game yet this patch with Broodmother. This is just some thoughts I got and how I think this will play out and what this will change. This might be completely wrong, this is just my assumption of the changes to Brood and how this impacts our hero. So first of all, its spin webs now grants Broodmother and her spiderlings movement speed based on the health of the unit. Grants the full amount at 100% health and 0% when the unit is at 20% health or less. Okay, so what does this mean? This means when we are full HP, the webs still give full movement speed, it's the same as before, right? But the lower HP we get, the less movement speed bonus we get. Brood's base movement speed is 275, so when we are at 20% HP we get down to 275, unless we buy like boots and windlaces, of course then we get a little bit more, but yeah, so what does this mean? First of all, I think boots and windlaces, or just all movement speed increases, are better on Brood right now. Because in real team fights we will rarely ever be full HP. So this decreases our survivability by a large margin. So it is way harder to survive against burst, right? If we get burst down, then running away will be way harder than before. Before, even if we lose like half HP, like 80% HP, we just run away. But now this will make it pretty much impossible to run away when we are low HP. Because Brood is one of the slowest heroes by nature, without the webs bonus. So I think this is a pretty big nerf to her. We can counteract this by buying boots every game. I know there are still a lot of Brood players that don't buy boots. I think boots is 100% necessary now. Probably also windlace pretty good. And maybe other movement speed neutral items get more value. Also I think items that will give you damage reduction gain more value from this. So for example, hood and pipe probably being the top tier damage reduction items, maybe even vanguards, just because you want to sustain the initial burst of people, right? And then you want to try to stay at higher HP thresholds than before, basically. I think pipe is like a really necessary item right now with this change, because imagine you want to kill like a Crystal Maiden, for example, right? You have like 30 spiders and you run a Crystal Maiden. She will use like one Crystal Nova, and then all your spiders are around 20% HP. This means they lose all the bonus movement speed, right? So they are only like half as fast as they would be normally. So it's way harder to chase people with support spells now. So this is also kind of a nerf to our offensive capabilities. And with pipe we can counteract this at least a little bit, right? If we activate the shield before the spiders get damaged, then the shield will pop, but the spiders will still be full HP, and then they are still at higher movement speed levels. So I think you definitely want to pick pipe every game. Then spawn spiderlings mana cost increased from 100 to 120. I think this is huge. Like this is our really low cooldown spell. The cooldown is 9 and goes down to 7 seconds. So like 20 more mana every 7 seconds can be a big deal. So with the change from spin webs and stuff, I think we just buy mana boots and soul ring every game now, regardless of which heroes we are playing against. Probably we also want to lean more towards other mana regen items, maybe the new, what is it called? The new Mage Slayer, which now gives mana regen, could be pretty good on Brood. Then we got damage reduced from 300 up to 440 to 240 and 40. So this basically just get nerfed 40 damage every level. I don't think this is the biggest deal. I know there are a lot of people that feel like this is a huge nerf to Brood. For the way I play Brood, I don't really use this to nuke enemies that much. I mean, of course, it's a nerf. For sure, like we're just losing 40 damage on the spell. But in most scenarios, you will use this on creeps. Like even in teamfight, if there's a creep wave, you probably want to use this on the creep wave to get a last hit, so you get more spiders. So you send them on the heroes. So in most cases, this is not as big of a nerf as it seems, at least from the damage parts, I think. Okay, so now to the freaking nice part about Brood. Spinner Snare. We worked Scepter. We gain a vector targeted ability. Really nice. Brood creates a 900 width invisible web line that takes 2 seconds to form. Okay, so this is kind of like a Darksea wall. It just takes like 2 seconds, right? Vector target that you can place somewhere on the ground. We will show this in demo lobby in a second. Enemy heroes that cross the web line will make it visible and become rooted after 0.25 seconds of 100% slow. They will also be visible in fog and receive 100 DPS for 4 seconds. So they gain 400 damage if they run into the web line. Also, they get rooted. So they are basically slowed and then rooted. I think it's up to 4 seconds. But yeah, root duration is 4 seconds. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so they're basically stuck for 4 seconds, and before that it slowed for a little bit. Broodmother's team is notified in the minimap whenever someone trips in the web line. Okay, so this means we are getting a notification, like a ping or whatever, on the minimap when someone trips in there. This is great. So this is basically like free wards. You can place this on high grounds, for example, and if someone trips in, you just gain a notification and they are stuck there. This is kind of like a better version of a Templar Assassin trap, for example. Multiple heroes can trip on the same line until the duration expires, but illusions don't trigger it. Illusions don't trigger it. Perfect, really good. You can't just trigger it with illusions like Techies Mines, for example. So it just catches real heroes. Maximum of 5 snares can be activated, and snares can't be cast overlapping another 2 charges. Okay, so you know what? I will talk about this and then we go into the demo lobby. But level 20 talent will lose 50 spiders attack damage, replaced with 50% spiders building damage. So this basically means we do the same amount of, I think it's even less damage, right? Yeah, it's probably even less damage to buildings, and then no additional damage to heroes. So this is also a big damage nerf in teamfights for the spiders, but probably not the biggest deal. I think with the spin web changes that we lose move speed, we will probably take the health talent anyway. Okay, so now let's check out Brood's agonyms in the demo lobby. I already tried this out yesterday, so I got some things to show you. Let's just level up to max. I think it's better to see if I don't place webs, but of course you can still place this on webs. So we gain this new ability. This is the vector target ability. You can see I can cast this as a vector like the Darksea Wall, for example. And then if I cast it like over here, the web line will form, and then after 2 seconds we got this web line. And then if an enemy runs into this, right, let's take this enemy Brood, for example. If she runs into this, she gets slowed, and then she's stuck here, she can't move, and she gets 400 damage. Also, if you pay attention to the minimap, I think we will move away pretty quick and then check the minimap. You will see, you will get this ping. Pretty nice. Also, the cool thing is, this is invisible, but it does not get revealed by any detection. So even if people carry gem, they don't see the web line. You cannot detect this with gems, you cannot detect this with sentries, you cannot detect this at all. So for the enemies, it just seems like there is no web line, and then suddenly they just run into this and they're stuck. And they gain 400 damage. So this is basically like a mix between a Techies Mines and the TA trap, or whatever, that you cannot detect at all. Like there's no way to detect the web line. unless you run into it, right? It can even hit, like, affect multiple units. So there are more enemies, and they all get stuck, right? They all can't move and they all get damage. So I think this ability is great. It is, in my opinion, this is probably the best ability Brood ever had. For example, in a teamfight, like imagine there's a teamfight, people are stunned here by Ravage or whatever, you can cast a web line over here and you can cast a web line over here. And then what can they do? Like, it doesn't matter which direction they run, they're just fucking stuck and then they're stunned again. Also, this pairs up really good with the shard. If we use shard, right, the Aghanim shard is AoE slow for Silken Bowler. So, if we have all 3 broods run away and we cast Silken Bowler AoE shard and then we cast a web line on top of them, even if they try to run away, they're slowed so hard that they just get stuck in the web line because they are slowed by the shard. So the shard and the web line in combination is probably the most disruptive team fighting thing Brood ever freaking had. I don't know, I think this is crazy. This is, in my opinion, this is crazy good. Now, how do we actually use the Spinner Snare? I think Spinner Snare will be used to probably block a lot of rams like this. Like if you cover the enemy jungle with spin webs, you can block all the entrance paths to the jungle with Spinner Snare. Like this. Which will make it really hard for enemies to contest you. Also, you could block up the triangle, for example, making it really hard for enemies to contest their own triangle. If you have a huge lead, you can just take over the triangle with this, like, completely. You can also put, like, more than one Spinner Snare, maybe like this. Makes it even more hard for enemies to, like, contest the triangle or other parts of the map. For some reason, as you can see, like over here I can't place them right next to each other. Well, here I can. Like on some areas this works, and on some other areas in the map you need like this far between the Spinner Snares. I don't know, this is still probably bugged. I don't know, like here it works, but for some reason like here and here it doesn't work. Also, what is possible is like you can protect Roshan like this. You can even place the Spinner Snares inside of Rosh. Pretty nice. You can just block the rams here and here, for example. With Spinner Snares, this makes it really hard for enemies to contest you while roshing. And then also this can be used to defend high ground. For example, if you see enemies pushing this tower, you can already set up for them to push the high ground. You can just set up 3 Spinner Snares like this. Makes it really hard for enemies to push. Maybe you can even use your Spinner Snares like this. I still don't know. We have to do some testing with this. But probably it is better to cast them like this, I think. Yeah, then as we said before, this also just works really great in teamfights. Like if you Silken Bowler people or people are stunned, you can just cast this on top of them, and then they get rooted after the stuns or the slows from a Silken Bowler. I think those are probably the best uses for this, and this just makes Brood way better as an offlaner, I think, because this offers even more utility to the hero. Like the shard that we got last patch already increases our utility in teamfights by a large margin. Now we get this incredible area controlling thing. Like Brood feels like a real spider now. We have way more web abilities and less like man fighting abilities. For me, I like it a lot. I know that there are tons of people that will hate this changes to Broods. I've still no idea how they play out in a real game, but in theory, for me, it seems like this just changes the Brood playstyle more and more to an off-lane utility playstyle with like more pipes, greaves, hex, shard, of course Aghanims, right? And then maybe Shiva's Guard, right? Like if you have Shiva's Guard, Aghanims and Aghanim's shard, You're just the team fight destroyer, dude. Like, you just run into some team fight with Shiva's Guard, you Silk and Bowler people, you spin a snare into the team fight. People are just slowed by every spell, they're stuck in your spinner snares, they're rooted, whatever. I think Brood can be a lot of fun with this. I like the changes, and I will probably give you guys an update in the next 2-3 days, whatever, when I have played like 10-15 games of this. Yeah. See you guys, thanks for watching, have a nice day.